Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're going to be doing a deep dive on AI, specifically what it means for jobs now and in the future.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic these days.
So the jumping off point for this deep dive is an essay. It's called The Impact of Artificial Intelligence on Jobs: Challenges, Opportunities, and Preparing for the Future.
Right.
And it was just published January 20th, 2025.
Oh,
AI is everywhere these days, right? I mean, everyone is talking about it, but we wanted to really dig deep into how it might really impact your work life.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Totally.
It's one thing to talk about it in the abstract, but it's another to think about how it's actually going to affect people's day-to-day jobs and livelihood.
Yeah, and this essay, I thought it was interesting how it really didn't shy away from some of the potential downsides of AI. You know, it really highlighted this two sides of the coin, this sort of AI can displace jobs, but it can also create new ones.
Right. It's that balance, right? The disruption and the opportunity.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people are feeling that tension right now.
Totally. And I think there's, one of the things that really jumped out at me, kind of a startling statistic, was that almost 100 million jobs, almost 100 million jobs could be lost globally by 2030 because of automation.
Wow. Okay.
So a big number.
It is a huge number. Yeah. But on the flip side, the essay also predicts the creation of 170 million new roles.
Interesting.
Which would lead to a net gain of 78 million jobs.
Okay.
So, I mean, overall more jobs.
Right.
But that begs the question of where are these new jobs going to be?
Right.
And what kind of schools are we going to need to actually get them?
Totally. Yeah, because it's not just about the numbers, right? It's about the types of jobs and who's going to be qualified for them.
Totally. And what skills are going to be in demand.
So the essay really pointed to these fields where AI is going to be more of a tool. Okay. It's going to be used to help people do their jobs better rather than replacing them altogether.
Gotcha.
And they were talking about things like healthcare, technology, even education.
Yeah, makes sense.
And some of the specific jobs they mentioned were AI specialists, so people who can develop and manage these AI systems.
Right. You need people who can build the tools and keep them running smoothly.
Yeah. Then there's data analysts who can make sense of all the information that AI is going to be generating.
You got to have people who can sift through all that data and find the insights, right?
Totally. And this one I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
Ethical AI consultants.
And that's an interesting one.
Right. That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
Right. What is that?
So tell me about that. What is an ethical AI consultant?
Okay. So imagine you've got an AI system that's being used for hiring. So an ethical AI consultant, their job is to make sure that system isn't biased.
Oh, wow.
Against, certain groups of people.
Okay.
They're basically the guardians of fairness in this AI world.
So they're making sure AI is used responsibly?
Exactly. Because AI can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But it needs to be guided by human values.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a really important role.
So it's not all about technical skills anymore?
Right.
The essay also talked about creativity and critical thinking and emotional intelligence. These things becoming even more valuable as AI kind of takes over the more routine tasks.
Absolutely, because those are the things that are uniquely human, right?
Yeah.
AI might be great at processing data, but it can't replicate empathy.
Right.
Intuition, those softer skills that are so important in the workplace.
Right. AI is not going to be able to read a room or understand human emotions and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So those skills become even more important. It's essential.
Now, the essay also talked about the competitive landscape of AI.
Okay.
And, we're seeing these tech giants like Google and Microsoft pouring billions and billions of dollars into development.
It's an AI arms race.
Right. So it's kind of what about everybody else?
Right.
Can smaller companies even keep up in this race?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
I mean, the resources these tech giants have are just staggering.
Right. Is it just a game for giants or can smaller players and, individuals even make a difference?
It's a good question. And I think the answer is it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's impossible. And I think that's where the focus on things like, ethics and responsible AI development come in.
Okay.
Because that's something that smaller players can really contribute to.
Right.
They can focus on niche areas where they can really make a difference.
When they're not necessarily trying to build the next,
world-dominating
AI. Yeah. It's about finding those spaces where AI can be used for good.
Okay.
And where smaller players can actually have an impact.
So what does all this mean for somebody who's not like a tech expert?
Yeah.
How can you prepare for this AI-driven future without having to become like a coding whiz?
I think the key is to stay informed, right? To understand the basics of what AI is, how it works, and how it's changing different industries.
Okay.
You don't necessarily need to be able to code.
Right.
But you do need to understand how AI is going to affect your job, your industry, and even your life in general.
So it's about understanding the bigger picture, the broader implications of this, rather than just, the nitty-gritty technical details.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because I think a lot of people get overwhelmed by the technical stuff, and it's like...
It can be intimidating.
Totally intimidating, and then they just kind of tune out. But if you can focus on like
the big picture,
and how it's going to affect you in your daily life, that's really what's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's about being proactive too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the future isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
We have a role to play in shaping it.
Totally. So it's like we don't have to just be passive recipients of whatever AI throws at us.
Exactly.
We can actually be involved in shaping what that future looks like.
Absolutely.
So that's an empowering way to look at it.
It is, yeah.
The essay also talks about potential future scenarios.
Okay, yeah, like what might an AI-powered world actually look like?
Right.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through those visions of what an AI world might look like?
Sure, yeah. So the essay outlines 3 main scenarios. The first one is kind of the optimistic view, where AI becomes our collaborator. It helps us to be more productive, more creative.
Yeah.
It leads to new industries, new jobs, and maybe even things like universal basic income.
Oh, wow.
To support those who are displaced by automation.
Okay.
So in this scenario, AI is a force for good. It improves our lives. It creates opportunities.
And it provides kind of a safety net for those who might be left behind.
Kind of like a utopian vision of the future.
Yeah, sign me up for that one.
Oh, right.
What's the next scenario?
So the second scenario is a little bit more cautionary.
Okay.
It highlights the potential for AI to actually worsen inequality.
Okay.
If we're not careful. So in this scenario, we see low-skilled workers struggling to find jobs.
Right.
While those with high-tech skills benefit disproportionately.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of
it's almost like a dystopian.
Yeah, it's a bit dystopian.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that AI, like any technology, can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
And it's up to us to decide which path we want to take.
So it's almost like a warning, right? Like, hey, if we don't do this right, things could go very badly.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of the potential consequences.
Okay, so what's the third scenario?
The third scenario is... it's kind of the most radical.
Okay.
It suggests that AI could actually lead to a complete redefinition of work itself.
Oh, wow.
So imagine shorter work weeks, more emphasis on personal development and creativity, and a shift away from traditional employment metrics.
So it's almost like work becomes less about like survival and more about like pursuing your passions and...
Yeah, it's about fulfillment.
Yeah, personal fulfillment.
Yeah, contributing your unique talents to the world.
That's a pretty radical shift.
It is.
Yeah. So out of those 3, which one do you find most compelling?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And why?
I think they all have their merits.
Yeah.
But the one that really resonates with me is the transformative vision. The idea of a future where work is less about, just grinding it out and more about pursuing your passions, contributing your unique talents. That's really appealing to me.
Yeah, I can see why that would resonate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a idealistic.
It is idealistic.
Vision of the future.
It is, but I think it's an ideal worth striving for.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think it's unrealistic.
Right.
I think it's something that we can actually achieve if we make the right choices.
So how do we do that?
Right.
How do we ensure that this positive vision actually becomes a reality?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that the future isn't preordained.
Okay.
It's not something that's just going to happen to us. We have the power to shape it.
Okay.
And that means making conscious choices about how we develop and use AI and how we prepare for the changes that it's going to bring.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how we use it.
It's about how we adapt to it.
How we adapt to it.
And how we ensure that it benefits everyone.
So it's really a human-centered approach to AI.
It's about putting people first.
Yeah.
And using AI as a tool to improve our lives.
And I think that's something that sometimes gets lost in the conversation.
Yeah, it can get lost in the hype.
Yeah, totally.
And the fear.
But at the end of the day, it's about people.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's about us.
Yeah.
And how we want to live in the future. It really is.
Yeah.
It's about, how we use this technology and how we adapt and make sure it benefits everybody.
Speaking of shaping the future, this essay also dives into this, global race for AI dominance.
Ooh, yeah.
It highlights not just the competition between companies, but also between, whole countries.
Like a new space race.
Right. And there's even this mention of a potential digital Cold War.
Ooh, that's a bit ominous.
Right. It's a little unnerving to think about AI advancements being, weaponized.
It is. It's a bit scary to think about the potential for misuse.
Yeah.
But I think it also underscores the importance of international cooperation.
Right.
We need to be working together to ensure that AI is used for good.
So it's not just about who can build the best AI. It's about
who uses it responsibly.
Who uses it responsibly and for what purpose.
Exactly.
And the essay really seems to suggest that AI isn't just about technological progress.
Right.
It has these huge geopolitical implications.
Absolutely. I mean, the countries that lead in AI are likely to have a major advantage, not just economically,
right,
but also in terms of global influence.
And it makes you wonder if we're headed towards this future where AI becomes the ultimate tool of power.
It's a possibility, and it's one we need to be very careful about.
Right.
I think that's why the essay's emphasis on ethical AI frameworks and regulations is so crucial.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
Right.
With safeguards in place to prevent misuse.
So it's having rules of the road.
Exactly. We have rules for, nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
We need rules for AI.
And even biological weapons and stuff like that.
Exactly.
The essay also brings up this issue of brain drain.
Oh, yeah.
Where the best AI talent is drawn to the countries and companies with the most resources.
Yeah, it's like a magnet.
Right.
The best and the brightest are going to be drawn to where the opportunities are.
And that could create this widening gap.
Right.
Between those who are leading the AI revolution and those who are kind of being left behind.
Absolutely. And that's a huge concern in terms of global inequality.
Right.
We need to find ways to make sure that the benefits of AI are shared more equitably,
right,
both within and between countries.
So it's not enough to just develop the technology.
Right.
We have to think about how it's being used.
It's about distribution.
And who's benefiting from it.
Yeah. Who's being left out?
And how to make it more equitable for everybody.
It's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from this technology.
Yeah.
Not just a select few.
Right. So the human element is really key here.
Absolutely.
Making sure AI is guided by our values and used to address the challenges.
Yeah, it's not about letting AI run wild.
That humanity is facing.
It's about using it as a tool to solve problems.
Right, rather than just advancing the interests of a select few.
Exactly.
So it's we can't just let the tech take over. We have to steer it in the right direction.
In a direction that benefits humanity as a whole.
And this essay also offers some practical advice on how to prepare for this AI-driven future. And I'm particularly interested in what it has to say about lifelong learning.
Oh, yeah. Lifelong learning is going to be essential.
Right.
In a world where AI is constantly evolving.
So gone are the days where you graduate from college and you're done learning.
Right. It's not about just getting a degree anymore.
Right. You have to.
It's about continuous learning.
Constantly be learning, upskilling.
Adapting to new technologies, new ways of working.
So what kinds of skills does the essay highlight?
Well, it talks a lot about creativity.
Okay.
Critical thinking, emotional intelligence, complex problem solving. These are all skills that are going to be in high demand.
Okay, and those are things that AI can't really replicate.
Not easily, anyway.
Right.
I mean, AI might be able to do some of these things to a certain extent.
Right.
But it's not going to be able to fully replace human capabilities in these areas.
Okay.
At least not anytime soon.
So it's not just about learning how to code. It's about cultivating these, uniquely human qualities that are going to set us apart in this AI-powered world.
It's about what makes us human.
Right.
Our ability to think critically, to empathize.
To be creative.
to solve complex problems.
To connect with other people.
Yeah, those are the things that are going to be valuable in the future.
Yeah.
No matter how advanced AI becomes.
So it's almost like a mindset shift, right?
It is a mindset shift.
It's not just about acquiring new skills.
It's about embracing a growth mindset.
It's about, like, how you approach learning.
And being open to new possibilities.
Problem solving.
Recognizing that learning is a lifelong journey.
Yeah, constantly evolving.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about individuals. The essay also emphasizes the role of businesses.
Oh, yeah. Businesses have a huge role to play in this.
In preparing for this AI-driven future.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be thinking about how they can use AI to enhance their operations, to improve their products and services.
To create new opportunities for their employees.
Exactly. It's not just about cutting costs or replacing workers.
Right.
It's about finding ways to leverage AI to create value.
And the essay specifically mentions investing in employee training.
Oh, yeah. Upskilling and reskilling are going to be crucial.
And creating these hybrid roles.
Yeah, where humans and AI work together.
Right, that combine human strengths and AI strengths.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance.
So it's not about, like, humans versus machines.
No, it's about humans and machines working together.
It's about teamwork.
To achieve common goals.
And, of course, the essay also highlights the crucial role that governments play.
Absolutely. Governments need to be proactive.
In shaping the AI future.
Yeah, they need to be creating policies that support responsible AI development.
Okay.
Promote education and reskilling programs. And provide a safety net for those who may be displaced by automation.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
It is. It's going to take a concerted effort from all stakeholders.
Businesses,
governments, everyone.
Together.
To ensure that AI is used for good.
Yeah.
And that its benefits are shared widely.
Speaking of safety nets, the essay explores some, like, interesting ideas, like universal basic income and job guarantees.
Yeah, those are some of the ideas that are being floated around.
Have potential solutions to the challenges of job displacement.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those ideas evolve.
Right.
As AI continues to develop.
So it's kind of like we're in this period of experimentation.
We're in uncharted territory.
Yeah, where we're trying to figure out
the best way forward.
How to navigate this. This new world.
And there's no easy answers.
Yeah, and it's probably going to take a while.
It will.
Sort everything out.
But I think the key is to be open to new ideas.
Wow.
To be willing to experiment.
To learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And to adapt as we go along.
Absolutely. Flexibility and adaptability are going to be key.
So the key takeaway here is that the future of work in this AI-driven world, it's not set in stone.
It's not predetermined.
It's something we have the power to shape.
Absolutely. We have agency.
Yeah. And the choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
Right.
But I think it's ultimately empowering.
Yeah, so it's not all doom and gloom.
No, not at all.
Right, it's not like the robots are going to take over.
Not necessarily.
And we're all going to be out of jobs.
It's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
It's about how we choose to use this technology.
And how we choose to adapt.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really important message to get across.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, there's one more thing I want to touch on,
which
is the fears and concerns people have about AI.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right. I mean, it's understandable that people are apprehensive.
Absolutely.
About this, rapidly advancing technology.
I mean, it's natural to be afraid of the unknown.
Especially when it has the potential to disrupt so many aspects of our lives.
Our jobs, our relationships, even our sense of self.
Right. And the essay specifically touches on fears of, like, mass unemployment and loss of human touch in certain professions.
Yeah.
And the potential for AI to be used for, malicious purposes.
All valid concerns.
So how do we reconcile these, valid concerns with the potential benefits of AI?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's tricky, right? How do we balance those concerns with being excited about the potential?
Right.
I think acknowledging those fears is important. We can't just sweep them under the rug.
Right.
And we need to be having open and honest conversations about the potential risks of AI.
Yeah, because if we don't talk about them, then nothing's going to change.
Exactly. We need to address those concerns head on.
So how do we ensure that AI is used ethically and responsibly as it becomes, even more integrated into our lives?
Yeah. Well, for starters, I think we need to establish some clear ethical frameworks and regulations for AI development and deployment.
Yeah.
We need to be proactive about addressing potential biases in algorithms and making sure that AI systems are used fairly and transparently.
Okay, so it's like we need some guardrails.
Yeah, exactly. We need some rules of the road.
To make sure.
To keep things on track.
AI doesn't go off the rails.
Exactly.
The essay also mentioned this concern about the loss of human touch in certain professions.
Yeah, it's a big one.
As AI advances. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. As AI gets more sophisticated, it's natural to wonder if it will eventually replace human interaction in fields like healthcare, education, customer service.
So are we headed towards a future where robots are our doctors and teachers?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, at least not in the way we might imagine.
Okay.
AI in its current form lacks the empathy, the intuition, the emotional intelligence that are so crucial in those roles.
And maybe even just that, human connection.
Exactly. We crave that human connection.
Right.
And AI can't replicate that, at least not yet.
So rather than replacing teachers, maybe AI can be used to personalize learning experiences for students, freeing up teachers to focus on providing more individualized support and mentorship.
It's about augmenting human capabilities. Not replacing them.
So it's like AI can handle the more routine tasks.
The grading, the lesson planning.
And then that frees up the human teachers to really focus on
the human element.
The things that
AI can't do.
They do best.
Yeah.
And that's a much more, I think, optimistic way.
It is. It's a more collaborative approach.
To look at it.
Yeah.
And if we embrace that collaborative approach, what might the future of work actually look like?
Well, the essay paints some pretty interesting pictures.
Okay.
Imagine shorter work weeks.
Okay.
More time for leisure, for personal pursuits, more flexibility in terms of when and where you work.
So it's almost like AI could free us from the drudgery of work.
To a certain extent, yes.
And allow us to really focus on
the things that matter most to us.
The things that we're passionate about.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a pretty appealing vision.
It is.
Of the future.
But we also need to be realistic.
Okay.
AI isn't a magic bullet.
Right.
It's not going to solve all our problems.
And in fact...
And it could even create new ones.
It could create new ones if we're not careful.
Right. We've talked about the potential for increased inequality.
Yeah. And what steps can we take to address that?
Well, education is key.
Okay.
We need to make sure that everyone has access to the skills and knowledge they need.
Right.
To thrive in an AI-driven world.
And that means investing in education and training programs?
Reskilling programs, apprenticeships, lifelong learning initiatives.
And we also need to think about social safety nets.
Right. Things like universal basic income.
To ensure that.
To provide a basic level of security.
Everyone has at least a basic standard of living.
Exactly. We need to make sure that no one is left behind.
Okay, so the key takeaway here is that the future of work in this AI-driven world is not set in stone.
It's a work in progress.
We have the power to shape it.
Absolutely.
And the choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
The future is in our hands.
I like that.
It's a bit cheesy, but it's true.
I mean, it's a little cheesy, but it's true.
It is.
And I think that's a really important message to end on.
Absolutely.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into this complex and ever-evolving world of AI and its impact on the future of work.
It's a topic that we're going to be grappling with for years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, we hope you found this conversation informative and thought-provoking.
Yeah, keep those questions coming.
The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
That's right.
So let's create a future that works for everyone. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.